to promote academic excellence and foster a better society by tackling practical issues. The topic today, the topic today, complex relationship between technology and gender dynamics, is one of the most pressing conversations of our time. From the algorithms to the shape of our online experience to the digital tool that can empower us or endanger us, technology's influence in our life is very vast and multifaceted. So we've gathered one of the two best lecturers to navigate this landscape with us today. But before we go on, I would like to call on the president of the House Institute of Academic Excellence to give us the opening remarks. Mr. Abdul Karim Abdulaziz, the floor is yours.
Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello,
Yes,
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Should I start? Your audio is not very clear.
Mr. Shafi?
Yes, sir.
She's asking whether she should start.
Am I audible?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so I said before we proceed with the program, I would like the president, Mr. Abdul Karim Aziz, to give us the opening remarks.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone from West Africa. I want to genuinely appreciate members for being part of this webinar. I'm very sorry I won't be able to put on my camera where I am now. It's a bit compromised. Distinguished speakers, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Redaus Initiative for Academic Excellence, it is my great honor to warmly welcome you to this important webinar on the theme, the influence of technology on gender dynamics. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is reshaping every aspect of human life, our economics, our social interactions, and even our identities. Its impact on gender dynamics is particularly profound. And while technology has opened doors to new opportunities for empowerment, education, and economic participation, it has also presented new challenges, such as digital exclusion, online harassment, and persistent gender gaps in access and leadership. As an organization, our mission is to foster dialogue, learning, and research that advance academic excellence and social impact. This conversation is therefore both timely and essential. It provides us with a platform to examine how technology can serve as a tool for promoting gender equity, while also allowing us to confront the barriers that continue to disadvantage women, girls, and marginalized groups in the digital age. Today's discussion or today's webinar will help us to reflect on critical questions such as how do we ensure equal access to digital resources? How do we address biases embedded in algorithms and digital platforms? How can we leverage innovation to build a more inclusive and equitable society? How can we ensure that technology empowers rather than marginalizes? And most importantly, how do we build a digital space and opportunities where everyone, regardless of gender, can thrive? I wish to appreciate our distinguished panelists and participants for joining us in this meaningful exchange of ideas. I encourage us to approach today's conversation with open minds, with a spirit of collaboration and a commitment to building digital spaces that uplift and empower all. I'm very sure together we can envision a digital future that advances equality and justice. On behalf of Redaus Initiative for Academic Excellence, once again, I want to appreciate our guest speakers, and I hereby declare this webinar open. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. So without wasting much of our time, we would go into the heart of the webinar. I would call on the first speaker, Professor Ranita Nagar from India, who is going to be speaking on AI and gender bias, how algorithms reinforce stereotypes for men and women. Professor Ranita Nagar is a distinguished academician, currently serving as a professor of economics and head of the Center for Law and Economics at Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar, India. She also holds the position of editor-in-chief of the GNLE Journal of Law and Economics. With over 2 decades of teaching and research experience, Professor Nagar has been instrumental in embedding interdisciplinary approaches at GNLU. She introduced and has taught the core courses in law and economics since semester 6, played a pivotal role in upgrading the social sciences curriculum, and spearheaded the creation of the Student Research Development Council and empirical legal research training programs. Her research spanned developmental economics, institutional economics, and gender studies, with significant contributions through projects such as evaluating the effectiveness of Anganwandis in Gandhinagar, developing the district human development index for Jamnagar, and conducting empirical analysis of case backlog under Section 138 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. A leader in her field, she served as the Dean of Research Publication and she serves as the Dean of Research Publication and as the head of the Center for Law and Economics. She has driven interdisciplinary academic initiatives, arranged external endowments, and launched workshops to build institutional capacity in empirical research. Professor Ranita Nagar, thank you so much for being here with us, and we hope to learn from your wealth of experience and knowledge. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Shafi. I thank Mr. Shafi. I thank all the esteemed delegates present. I thank the Firdaus Initiative for Academic Excellence in AI for their kind invitation. And in particular, I feel especially, bonded because there's a common legacy that India and Africa shares. We have seen history. We've been shaped and formed by history. And therefore, I think, what we will discuss will resonate with our experiences, with our lived experiences. So when you talk of gender, the role of gender and artificial intelligence, there are multiple dimensions of the same, right? The whole concept of gender and its place in this present state of technological advance that is known as artificial intelligence has very, very important, very deep, very wide political contours, sociological contours, cultural contours, economic contours, technological contours. So as many contours that are available in a human life, each of these contours, each of those dimensions require an in-depth study to actually understand what is happening at this interface of gender and artificial intelligence. I'll try and take an economic dimension. I'll try and look at the economic dimension because economics and the policies that the economics of the day, the mainstream economic generates, actually shapes has always shaped the history of technology, the present state of technology, and the future state of technology. Therefore, is the economic policy that I will keep central to the discussion I will be taking from the research of scholars like Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Professor Stiglitz, Professor Jayati Ghosh, Professor Katharina Pistor, Professor Darren Acemoglu, who have contributed very, very significantly in the area of trying to understand gender and, and its interface with technology. So that's the literature that I'll be taking from. And I'll be setting the course of discussion from a historical economic perspective, because we cannot, it's impossible for us, it is incorrect for us to talk about artificial intelligence as a distinct phase or as a disconnected phase. We have to set technology, including artificial intelligence, as a part of the historic evolution of economic policy and therefore the policies with regard to technology. So that's the broad framework in which I'll be placing the discussion. Also, let us demystify a few problematic areas. The first one being that artificial intelligence is the engine for growth. Artificial intelligence enhances productivity, and artificial intelligence therefore contributes to the growth of GDP. Okay. Why should we demystify this? Because all of this is true, but then if you look at it from the lens of gender, there's a fantastic disconnect between these two economic parameters. What is this disconnect that we are talking about? If you look at countries, let's talk about the Asian region, and let's talk about the important countries who have shown very dynamic, let's say, success in the last 30-40 years. And if we talk about Korea, we talk about China, we talk about Japan, then we see that as far as the rankings of per capita GDP is concerned, they are very much in the top. That means they would be ranked at around 30, 35 out of a range of 180 countries. They would be topped pretty much, among the 30, 35 range, which is very good out of 180 countries. If your range in the top 30, it is a good indicator. But that's the GDP count. That's the GDP per capita count. The minute you look at the performance in terms of gender gap, and you look at the World Economic Forum recent reports, you will find the same countries in terms of gender gap at a very, very dismal level, which would mean that, World Economic Forum, out of 150 countries, we see these same countries that I pointed out to be at the last leg, the lowest leg of the rank, that is 107, 120, 130. And if you talk about India, we are at about 147th rank, which is extremely low as far as the gender gap is concerned. So, we need to relook at this presumed correlation between productivity growth, GDP growth, and improvement in gender gaps. That's one thing, because it has not played out. The statistics don't show it. World Economic reports don't show it. National reports, NASSCOM reports, they don't show it, right? So what is happening here? That is the question. Why is this important to understand? Because it's the same logic, it's the same trajectory that we have followed over the, if you take the recent time frame, 30-40 years, we can go beyond that. We can look at historical development. We can start from the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, the third industrial revolution, and currently the fourth phase of industrial revolution, and see, this disconnect between what is happening to productivity, what is happening to GDP, but in particular, what is happening to the gender gap. So that's the framework in which we have to understand the present state of artificial intelligence, because there is nothing so much in favor of the technology with regard to artificial intelligence today, that it can, do something very differently than what historically has happened. In fact, the situations and the challenges in which artificial intelligence placed itself, is way more challenging than the conditions were prior in the in the previous phases of industrial revolution. So therefore the challenge is way more, as far as the what the president of the forum spoke of, the challenge that how would women play an important role as far as benefiting from AI is concerned, or how would they contribute to the increase in productivity, and how would they therefore contribute towards the increase in GDP growth, and so on and so forth. Once again, I would like to repeat, in the case of India, we are, like I said, if you just talk in terms of GDP, we are pretty much, the fourth largest economy. But then we are also at the, lowest rung of the gender gap statistics. So from the beginning, we need to, break this correlation between this line of thought, because it has not played out, right? So then we need to go into the reasons for this. What has happened? Why have women, 50% of the population, why do they still face this kind of a gender gap? And then in the coming years of AI and its impact, what are the safeguards that are taken that these gender gaps will not spill over, will not intensify, will not create more enhanced and more severe and more intense gender gaps? What are the rail guards that we have taken at the policy level? Those are questions which are very open to for discussion. So if we look at so again, another very mainstream default understanding of artificial intelligence, its role in productivity enhancement, its role in GDP growth, takes from the fact that the argument that's given is that, we've had so many disruptions before. Like, you go back to the first industrial revolution, and you see that there was fear that when machines come, they would displace labor completely. So the argument is that did not happen. Similarly, when the age of computer and internet came, there was again the challenge that it would create a lot more labor disruptions, but that did not happen. So therefore, we again have this big question of AI displacing human labor. But then, since it did not happen in the past phases of industrial revolution, it will not happen in this phase also. And the jobs that are that become obsolete, new jobs will be created, like it has happened in the previous phases of industrial revolution. So once again, there is a problem in this kind of a logic, because most of this argument, most of this justification comes from Silicon, the barons of the Silicon Valley, and they are not they don't hold well on rich historical empirical studies. They don't, because if we really look keenly into the first industrial revolution, we see that for almost 80 years, in the first phase of the industrial revolution in UK, the real income did not grow, it stagnated. The work conditions were very, very taxing. The hours of work increased. And within all these things that are happening, we are talking about a class distinction, of course, but within the class distinction, we are also talking about a gender distinction. when all of this is happening, when you have, hours of work increasing, when you have children going into coal mines to work, when the very, very strict timings and conditions are adhered to, absolutely very limited, any idea of freedoms that existed. So for 80 years, the real income did not increase, did not stagnate, stagnated. There was no economic improvement for pretty much 80 years. It was only after that, in the second phase of the Industrial Revolution, that we see, machines which were making work more productive on one side and creating a lot more of work. For example, things like the steam engine, transportation. So what it did was it created a lot of spaces for so many new areas of work. And also we must remember that this is at a stage where markets are expanding. Markets have not got saturated. We must keep in mind that today is a very different scenario in today's age. So in the second phase, only the second phase of the Industrial Revolution, we see that the returns to mechanizations are coming. Real wages have increased. Gender wage parity is becoming better. But there's a specific feature to that. And what is that feature? That feature is that machines have not displaced human labor, but it has enabled human labor and created a lot more additional human venues for human labor. That is one. But more important than that, that means that was the character of the technology at that point of time. So, and more important than that was the character of the institutions that we see in play at that point of time. And what was the character of these institutions? There was, institutions which were pressing for a more democratic framework. There were institutions which encouraged a bargaining power as far as the workers are concerned. And when we say workers, 50% of them being women. Union activities were encouraged. So there was a better distribution of the surplus in the later half of the second phase of the Industrial Revolution. Why is this important? Because all this talk about AI and gender, that it will. So, for example, today which courses are sold the most in universities or in private courses? Which ones? Any data you look up, it is on artificial intelligence. So yes, it's become a huge thing of the present, and there's a lot of commercialization as far as learning from it concerned, and so on and so forth. But we have to learn from the distinct phases of industrialization to see that unless you have institutional structures like we saw in the second phase of the Industrial Revolution, which ensure, so you have social security systems, you have unions, you have better bargaining power, you have labor movements, which are reflected in the institutions. Only then can the gains of the mechanization and technology get shared between the owners of the technology and the workers in the technology, in particular the women workers in the technology. So we do not see those institutional structures today, so that becomes another very big challenge. And it is towards those institutional structures, so as the President was mentioning, we have to look at solutions. So the solutions would primarily, of course, be with regard to, there is no problem in the technology. We must make that very, very clear. Artificial intelligence can be one of the best opportunities, historically the best opportunity. But then what is the business model of that artificial intelligence? That's the core question. What is the business model, and what are the institutions under the framework of which these these business models are going to function. And I think that's very, very clear. What is the business model? The business model is in private hands, and it has taken dimensions more powerful and more economically strong than sovereign countries. You know, it has become very difficult to check their presence. Conglomerates who use artificial intelligence and the various subtypes of that intelligence. Very important, the AI that we talk of today, and workers and genders. So genders in particular and workers, you know, broadly. They do not have the institutional structures to protect, number one. Number two, the arguments that, you know, technology and advanced technology are not necessarily labor displacing is an incorrect argument, because we've seen it already in the Industrial Revolution. Think about this, that the first phase of Industrial Revolution, 80 years, there was impoverishment. Can the society at large experiment with AI and wait that for 80 years maybe, you know, it will take away jobs very significantly. It will create more and more intense gender gaps with all its cultural, political aberrations that will follow. And then, you know what, a new, you know, a new pro-people, pro-worker, pro-gender artificial intelligence systems would get created. I mean, I don't think that's what, you know, that would mean this generation, next generation, and third generation, all very adversely affected by the present business model of artificial intelligence and its completely labor displacing role, and more particularly once the labor is displaced, once any form of bargaining power is taken away more and more from you know, the 50% of the working population, then the vulnerabilities that it creates put at risk the very idea of, the very notion of an individual as a citizen and his or her rights, the very at this, you know, the very meaning of autonomy and agency that individuals merit from the simple idea that you know, they are independent economic agents, and so therefore they have some autonomy over their decisions. So pretty much we are, you know, we are creating vulnerabilities of a magnitude that I don't think we have, you know, given enough thought to. If we had, there would be more and more discussion forums like this, you know, that would be deliberating on the limitations and the challenges and the risks that the present business model of AI holds within itself. Of course, having said all of this, AI in a more democratic setup, AI in a more pro-people setup can be the, you know, platform for absolutely fantastic work as far as health industry is concerned, as far as education is concerned, as far as you know, creating political awareness is concerned, as far as combating misinformation is concerned, as far as preserving the dignity of women is concerned. All of that, it has the potential to do that, but we are not hearing very much about it. So towards solutions, if we need to go, it cannot be a standalone solution. So just looking at the market and the business model of AI, I mean, there are scholars who say that, well, you know, more women should, you know, should engage themselves with a learning of artificial intelligence. More women should, you know, be familiar with coding and algorithms, so that the biases that, you know, are spoken of, you know, the labeling that is spoken of, especially with regard to women, the misuse of AI that happens with regard to, you know, objectification of women and so on and so forth, can be reduced when women themselves, you know, kind of algorithm warriors, you know, they themselves take it on and make that impact. But then once again, if you look at the global statistics on this, we see that there is in technology, broad technology, AI is only a subpart of that. As far as technology is concerned, there's about 30% of participation of women. It seems a very large number, 30%, but then in executive roles, in decision-making roles, that number gets reduced to about 7 or 8%, which is therefore this engagement of women with, you know, artificial intelligence training and, you know, taking all these courses and becoming coders. As of now, the statistics show that those who really, you know, are in the, you know, in the elevated role of 8%, you know, what are the rest then? The rest are in, you know, the very, very lower rungs of. So you have an establishment working in AI, and that establishment needs workers at all levels, and women workers in particular, because of the wage gap. The wage gap is so broad. 60% of there's a 60% wage differential. So who's working in the lower rungs of that conglomerate? Women, because you have to pay them less. This cheap labor. So statistically, you know, you count them in the technology stress sector, but then that really doesn't mean that there is any impact, any fruitful impact of that. So that's a very long trajectory that women should, women must, and all of that. So there's one part, you know, that comes from engaging. That's one part. But I have my doubts how effective that will be. The other is through institutions. That is, through institutions, we need to ensure that this power that has been, you know, the economic power, and therefore the political power and the economic power that have come to be bestowed on these conglomerates and who are almost challenging the sovereignty of countries, that is put in check through the very, very strict regulatory regimes. That needs to be done. The institutions have to be very, very clear. For example, with regard to whose data it is, can there be data unions? You know, as Professor Pistor mentions, can there be, because the basis of all of this is us, right? The whole input for the algorithms is the data that's available, right? So this whole question of who owns the data, and clearly the answer is that, you know, the individual owns the data, but then can we have some corrective mechanisms on that? Can we have some you know, some forum in which maybe dividends get paid? Of course, consent clause and all of that is fine, but then dividends get paid, you know, on the use of the data and so on and so forth. And in particular, when it comes to gender and the data that is generated from, you know, from women, there need to be, you know, very, very, very significant consent clauses with regard to not only that. I mean, there are scholars who mention that, you know, you can have algorithms with some kind of a marking, you know, whether this algorithm, like, you know, in food you have you know, a full information with regard to what kind of chemicals are used, what preservatives are used, and whether, you know, then finally you get some tag saying that this is healthy. Similar to that, algorithms need to have that marking, you know, which says that these are you know, sufficient filters have been attached, and because of which, you know, it is safe. It is safe from all kinds of misuse that is possible. So these are the, you know, some solutions that are coming from research and from scholars. But I would still insist that more than that, it's about democratic strength. It is about the bargaining power of the people, and that needs to be reflected in institutions, so that, you know, if conglomerates are going rogue, then there is a control on them, then there is an accountability on them, and that has to come through the law and the regulation. We must also keep in mind this one thing, because we have placed gender and artificial intelligence in the trajectory of evolution of technology. We should also note that profits are an inverse relation of regulations. If you look at the first industrial revolution, we look at basically what is industrial revolution. It is the mutation of capital. It is the mutation of capital from land to machines, from machines to finance, and from finance to technology, and within technology now artificial intelligence. In a very summarized sense of the phases of capital across the industrial revolution phase, from the first to the fourth. And what's important is that in these phases of evolution, higher the regulations, lower the profits, lower the regulations, higher the profits, right? So it is only at a particular time when that capital, the face of the capital, is going adverse to the sovereign and democratic values, the regulations come in to kind of contain the powers of these conglomerates. So artificial intelligence, therefore, today is in the phase of very low regulations and therefore very high profit. And that's where the economic and the political power, gets concentrated. So the need of the day is, yes, active participation of women in engaging as coders, as activists, as academia, as discussant forums, in the imperative of containing this private artificial intelligence market through the regulatory system, and also the second priority would be, so this would be the first priority, and the second priority would be to engage more and to train ourselves more, and to and after training, not just become not to see it as a career and not to create GDP out of it, but to be there and then make a difference, like to ensure that coding is pro dignity, pro women, pro people, pro present generation, and therefore the future generation. Mr. Abdullah, are you asking me to conclude? Mr. Shafi, are you?
No.
No, I don't know if I've gone beyond time.
Yes, so we enjoying you, ma'am.
So I'll just take a bit of more time, I guess. Started at, So there's so much, such a huge topic, such an important area, and all my congratulations to this initiative, the Firdaus initiative, and I think you should do it more, and bring this awareness at so many levels, at so many multiple levels. So again, placing the artificial intelligence phase in the broader historical trajectory, I think the last 30 years is an important time for us to deliberate upon, specifically from the gender perspective. Last 30 years, we have heard of this Asian miracle. What was this Asian miracle about? It was about very, very fantastic levels of growth in countries, Korea, for example, Japan, China, and this fantastic level of growth was attributed because of export-led growth. And interestingly, it was at this point of time that the gender gap reduced very significantly. In fact, in this phase, in the countries that I mentioned, not across, in India, the impact was there, but not as much as it was in Korea, Japan, China. The gender gap reduced. So what is gender gap? Gender gap is the lack of opportunities that women face in education, in training, in opportunity, in political representation. So all those, all those denial of, denial and access to the variables I mentioned create what is known as the gender gap index. And this gender gap index reduced. When you say reduce, then that means that these opportunities increased. So we're talking about these last 30 years. We must remember that this is the export-led growth phase, and we must understand that a lot of women got jobs, opportunity to work in this export-led growth. So what I'm trying to say is the growth that the last 30 years saw, in this part of the world, to me, it looks like that growth happened on the basis of under-remunerated work of women. So it was a work of women, because when you say export-led growth, textiles, the fabrics, some form of primary product, some form of handicrafts and stuff like that, wherein women were the largest subgroup that were working. And therefore we see the reduction in the gender gap. But then we must also remember that it was, why were so many women working? Because it was cheapest. Because there were women between 18 and 30 years of age, who were working. There were women for whom, who were so young, so uninformed, that they were never, they never bargained for anything. They did not ask for any rights. They did not they didn't unionize. And as and when the export, demand reduced, they could be retrenched. They could be asked to go home. So it was very convenient. This women workforce was a very convenient workforce, and it is based on their exploitation and under remuneration that the entire global supply chain reached its phase, reached its strength, became these miracles that we talk about. There's some disturbance happening, Mr. Shifa. Can you look, Shafi? Can you please look into it?
We are very sorry. We are really enjoying your presentation, Ma. But however, we are very constrained on time.
Yeah, of course. So that's why. So I'll just conclude. So therefore, the women have been the the source through which the global accumulation of wealth in the last 30 years have taken place. On that note, I would conclude saying that this phase and this cycle will necessarily repeat itself in the times of artificial intelligence in a more intense way, unless we are cautious and cognizant of the guards, of the regulatory guards, and of the pro-people institutions. Unless that happens, the gender gap and the status of women would really not find the answers that we're looking for. On that note, Mr. Shafi, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much. Mr. Shafi?
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for that insightful and well processed presentation, Ma. Without wasting much of our time, we would move on to the next program. The next lecturer is going to be discussing with us. Um, is going to be discussing with us technology and gender-based violence. How everyone is going to be protected in the internet space. The person that is going to be discussing with us is Barrister Maruf Olamide Balogun, FIMC, CMC, CMS. He's a prominent Nigerian lawyer and the legal author, distinguished as the founding partner of the law firm Maruf Balogun and Co. and the CEO of the law book publishing firm Legal Lead Publications Limited. He's also the convener of the Law Diary International. Known for his litigation practice, he gained recognition for instituting public interest lawsuits to protect the rights of underprivileged. He has contributed to the legal field. His contribution to the legal field has earned him numerous awards, including awards of Legal Analyst of the Year in 2023, Best Legal Author of the Year in 2021, and he is named one of the top 50 outstanding legal luminaries in Nigeria. Mr. Balogun Maruf, thank you so much for being with us today. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you. Sir, your mic is muted.
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Am I
sir.
audible now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Firstly, let me salute the first panelist, Professor. I was actually enjoying her presentation before Mr. Shafi decided to stop her. Well done, ma. And I want to use this opportunity to thank the organizers for bringing me on board. I think this is one of the innovations we should encourage. This time around, we need knowledge. We need to tell people what they need to know for all of us to live well and to live as one in Nigeria, in Africa, and world at large. Because of time, let me just say a few things before Mr. Shafi decides to stop me too. Now, the topic is the theme of this lecture, according to what I was told, is the influence of technology on gender dynamics. And I want to speak on the laws addressing the technological facilitated gender-based violence. I would look at it from the laws we have in Nigeria, then in Africa by extension. Firstly, before the digital world, the issue of gender violence has been there from the time immemorial. Because there was no way we could know then. That was why most of us thought that, oh, it's a new thing. It's not a new thing. It has been there from the time immemorial. But because then there was no enough space. Okay, if it happened in Nigeria and supposing there was no internet and somebody is harassing another person here, I am very sure there is no how, unless we listen to the news, unless we were told by somebody who witnessed the harassment. There was no how somebody in any other parts of the world can know that in Nigeria something is going on. So it has been there before we properly came on space. So the space just gives us the opportunity to know more about what is going on in our domestic homes. And that is the first thing we have to realize. Secondly, in Nigeria, we have an area of laws on the issue of protection of or addressing the issue of gender violence on the space. The one that is prominent is the law known as Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act. It was made in 2015 after the issue of internet and other technologies became more prominent in Nigeria. So the government felt that there is need to have a local law in Nigeria that will address some of the challenges that will be coming up from this space. So thereafter, we have a law known as Uncited Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2015. Let me just summarize in a nutshell what this law entails. For instance, the issue of pornography. The issue of pornography is one of the offenses the law creates, that if you are caught in that space, an offense that if triable, you found guilty, you either go to prison or you were made to pay a fine. So also the issue of cyber stalking, cyber spitting, and so on and so forth. So aside from that, we equally have another law that was made thereafter almost the same year, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. If you look at the name of that law, Violence Against Persons Prohibition, even the name explains what the law is all about. Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. So it means that one person should not attack or assault, whether online or offline, another person. That is the summary of that law. And the law equally provides for penalties for whoever contravenes the law, imprisonment of 10 years, 7 years, even for life. For example, the issue of child harassment. Now, in Nigeria today, under the Child Rights Act, if anybody harasses a female child, and that person is arrested, prosecuted, and found guilty, the punishment is life imprisonment. There is no option of fine. So to this extent now, majority of us are aware that there are some things we must not do. Otherwise, if caught, the law is there to take its due course. So in Africa, for example, now, we talk about the African chapter, human and people's rights, and one of the rights recognized under that chapter is rights to dignity of human person. I respect you, respect me. You don't just assault me without legal justification. I don't assault you too. I know my rights and the limitations. You know yours and you know your limitations. So if you look at this law, this is one of the laws that connects most of the countries in Africa. African Charter of Human and People's Rights, African Charter and so on and so forth. So all these laws are there in Nigeria, in Africa, for the protection of persons. I won't say female alone this time around. Persons could mean a male, it could mean a female. Persons generally, because in Nigeria, before the establishment of Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, the law then was that it's only, there's an offense called offense of rape, that you can only prefer charges of rape against men. So then the law believed that women generally cannot be found culpable, let alone finding them guilty for rape. But now the law has been modified to include sexes. So a female can go to jail now for raping a man. A woman can go to jail for raping a man. That's what I mean. So it is immaterial now to say, oh, I am a woman. A woman cannot rape a man. In Nigeria, a woman can rape a man now, and she goes to jail if arrested, prosecuted, and found guilty by court of competent jurisdiction. So all these laws are there purposely to safeguard gender-based, issues that will crop up from the cyber. Then away from that, because of my time, I'm going to speak on the challenges of prosecuting and preventing online harassment and cyber stalking and related issues. Now, this online of a thing now, one of the issues is jurisdiction. I am in Nigeria, I'm speaking from Nigeria. Professor is not from Nigeria. So if I am committing an offense now, if I am saying something that is against the cybercrime law in Nigeria and against the professor. If she now wants me to be arrested or invited by the police, investigated and prosecuted, coming to Nigeria is another thing. Getting in touch with the law enforcement agencies here it's a stumbling block. All these challenges are there. Jurisdiction. Somebody may be in South Africa and be harassing another person in Nigeria online. So to go to and fro South Africa, Nigeria, it's a big issue. And that is why we have come to realize that even we have these laws, but if the jurisdiction is not the same, it may pose a kind of difficulty in arresting and prosecuting whoever is responsible for the law violation. That's one thing we need to identify. So one of the challenges facing all these online prosecution and everything is the issue of jurisdiction. Then anonymity is another issue. My proper name is Moruf Balogun. If I decide to open a page on a Facebook and use Francis Liu, I'm not Francis Liu. If I decide to use Francis Liu, whereas my name is Moruf Balogun, though we've seen cases where the agencies of the government here would unravel, but then it takes time. It can take a whole lot of time, like 2 years, 3 years, even more. So if somebody who is responsible for cyberbullying, cyberstalking is actually using a fake identity, if I'm using my real identity, it's easier to say, oh, this is the person. This person is from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Ghana. But if the person is using a fake identity, to unravel the real identity at times, it's one of the challenges we are facing. And aside from that, we have lack of evidence. Evidence is another thing. In Nigerian courts, if you're bringing any evidence from the space online, it has strict legal rules. It has strict legal rules because of AI issues. They can say, no, this is AI. This is not real. This is AI. Somebody just doctor, stuff like. So you have to go extra mile in establishing the facts that the evidence you are presenting to justify online sexual harassment or abuse or cyberbullying, cyberstalking, etc., is actually real. So also in other African countries, you bring evidence online. We want to see if it is not AI. We want to see how the evidence is generated. We want to see the procedure. We want to see the instruments used and so on and so forth. So all these are stumbling blocks when it comes to, arresting and prosecuting online offenders. Then we have technical complexity. This is related. This is just like it's an addendum to what I have been saying. Like the issue of evidence I mentioned, you have to tell the courts that you downloaded it and all the computer you used in downloading the evidence you want to present in court are working. You have to cite the maker. You have to ensure that everything is intact. At times the court will want to see the computer that you use in download. At times you need to bring in an expert to come and testify. Paying an expert at times in Nigeria, for example, this is Ogun. I'm talking from Ogun State. If, for example, you want to bring an expert from Abuja, the seat of the government in Nigeria, you have to consider the flights, payment for the flight. You have to consider the hotel reservation. You have to consider all the other logistics. So all these things are stumbling block when it comes to, arresting and prosecuting the online offenders. Then away from that, let me go through the recommendations. The recommendations. How do we improve? Because after much deliberation, what comes subsequently, or what we need to understand? Okay, we have seen that we have the laws. We have seen the challenges these laws are facing. We have seen the obstacles that are capable of not allowing the essence of the law to come into reality. Then how do we resolve? How do we address these challenges? The recommendation to the governments, to the stakeholders and other, necessary institutions. Number one is awareness. That's the first thing. Awareness, like what we are doing now is awareness. I know people are here listening to us. If people don't know, in Nigeria, there is this doctrine in law that the fact that you don't know the law is not an excuse for you to escape criminal liability or legal liability. But at the same time, the law expects the government to explain to the people what the law is all about. So if people don't know, most people think online is about fun. Let's go there, let's talk anyhow, let's bully people. There are no consequences. That's the one thing, that's how they feel. Up to now, most people don't know that bullying somebody online is a criminal offense in Nigeria, let alone in Africa. So we need to educate them. Sensitization and conscientization has to come in. We need to make proper, like in Nigeria, we have ministry that is responsible for that. But I want to tell you that I am not satisfied with the activities of the said ministry, because we have many things that are still going on in the space without any legal consequences. You see them fighting, see them calling out people out way without any legal consequences. So people need to be sensitized and conscientized. Awareness is the key, and the government alone cannot do it. It's something that both the government and the private institutions will collaborate to do. The government will do, the private too will do to cushion the effort of government in terms of creating more awareness as regards laws regulating online dealings. That's number one. Number two, we need to, our courts now, they need to take online cases from online dealings more seriously. Like in some cases in Nigeria, when you go to court and say, no, this person is cyberbullying me, the way judge, even lawyers, the way they will look at you, they will even ask you, do you even have job at hand? Why are you wasting your time online thing? So that impression, that erroneous impression needs to be, erased. Online has the same function as offline. If you can abuse me offline, the law can support me. If you abuse me online too, the law too should be able to support me. I don't see any difference between online and offline, aside from the fact that we are seeing physically and we are seeing, through the use of technology. That's the only thing. To me, they should carry the same consequences. Whether you attack me offline verbally or you attack me online verbally, to me, I don't think there should be a kind of disparity between them. So in a nutshell, our courts, the judges, the magistrates, those in the realm of justice administration should take the issue of online abuse more seriously, and they should attach more stiffer punishments to it. Not that somebody would bully and you say, go and pay fine. In Nigeria, when you pay fine of 10,000 naira, it's like going home free of charge. But when you ask somebody to pay a fine of maybe 500,000 naira, others would know that, oh, it's no more a fun, it's now a serious matter. So they'll be willing to comply with that law. When they see the consequences and when they see that these things are real, they'll be more willing to comply with the law. Then aside from that, then sharing laws, sharing best practices. Like in Nigeria, we have Cybercrime Prohibition Act. We have, beautiful provisions. We have the offenses. We have the provisions. What you can do online, what you cannot do online. If you do this, it amounts to criminal offense. These are the consequences. Other jurisdictions too in Africa should emulate the same. We should have the same law in South Africa, in Ghana, in Benin Republic, and so on and so forth. It shouldn't be, in Africa, it's just one country that is protecting cyberspace. No, it should go around in all the jurisdictions too, so that everybody can be on the same page. So if you commit an offense in Nigeria, online offense in Nigeria, you wouldn't run to Ghana. Ghana will not give protection. Because if it is not like that, the implication is that if somebody commits an offense in Ghana, online offense now, and it comes to Nigeria, if Nigeria does not have that law criminalizing that act, it will be difficult for us to say, no, go back to your country, go and face the consequences of what you have done. Because they see that what is the big deal there? In our country, there is no such law. So stay here and enjoy yourself. But if the same law in Ghana is prohibiting, pornography, the same law in Nigeria is saying no, the same law in South Africa and other countries. So we'll be on the same page. So if even thinks of committing an offense and have come to another, you know how, where you are going already. There's a similar law criminalizing what you have done there. So to a large extent, this tool is going to assist in ensuring that we maximally secure our online space. So because of time, let me just stop here. So if there are other questions thereafter, I'm sure I can just put in one or two things. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Barrister Maruf Balogun, for that legal-based and insightful presentation. Thank you so much. Now we are going to be moving to the question and answer section. If you have questions, kindly please raise your hand or you type your question in the chat box. But before, while others are typing their questions or trying to raise their hand to ask questions, I have a question for Barrister Maruf Balogun before you go, sir. So my question goes those. You talked about jurisdiction and identification being one of the problems being faced, one of the challenges faced in prosecuting internet crime, the cyber crime, and harassing people online. So what do you think the solution is to face this problem?
Yes, I said it. We need to share similar laws. We need to share similar best practices. If, for example, like we have Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015 Nigeria, other countries too should equally have similar laws, so that you would know that even if you commit an offense under that law in Nigeria, going to Ghana is not going to be a saving grace for you. You would know that it's going to be from frying pan to fire. So when you know that, oh, this thing is it's all encompassed, all jurisdictions have the same or similar legislation, you would understand that, oh, this is not what I can do. Because even if I leave my country and go to another country, it's still the same thing. They equally have that same law criminalizing that same act. That is one of those things. Then secondly, our security agencies too should collaborate, should work together. In Nigeria, we have a law, Extradition Act, for example, 2010. So other countries too in Africa should have it. So if a man commits an offense in Nigeria and he absconds to another country, that country, by virtue of that law, should be able to say, no, we have signed international treaties with Nigeria. If anybody commits an offense there and approaches us here for safety, we're not going to. We would rather send the person back to go and face criminal prosecution again. So our international relationship should be more strengthened. It should be strengthened in such a way that it's going to be a win-win situation. Do you understand? So these are some of the things I think that if properly implemented, it will, go a long way in resolving the challenges we've highlighted.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response, beautiful response to the question. So to Professor Ranita, I also have a question for you. Okay, before I ask my question, someone asked a question that with our diverse ethnicity and cultures, not only across Nigeria, but across Africa, is it really possible to have same laws and criminalizing same acts in different countries?
Well, it's possible. We're talking about criminal act. Criminal act is a general thing. Stealing, for example, if you steal my money, if you steal my money using computer interference, do you understand? Popularly called Yahoo practices. It's a global thing. So there is no culture that would say, no, in our culture, we steal money. No. So we're talking about criminal acts. So it is possible. When we talk about the civil now, then it may not be possible. For example, maybe you talk about land matter, you talk about contract, but criminal it is easier for us to have similar or the same law when it comes to criminal matters. For example, internet fraud. Internet fraud in Nigeria is an offense. In Ghana, true, I'm very sure they wouldn't say it's not an offense in Ghana. So also in South Africa. So also in any part of the world, internet fraud is a crime. So if we can agree on those things, it is possible for us to have, the same or similar legislations prohibiting all these, criminal offenses online.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response. Professor Nagar, my question goes thus. In countries like India and across Africa, regulatory frameworks are just coming up. They are still emerging on AI and all these innovations that we have currently. So, what key principles do you think should guide the policies to effectively curb algorithmic gender bias? Mark?
So what I was trying to tell you is this, that, there is statistically, there's an inverse relationship between regulation and profits. So regulations can take the form of very, very deep filtering of the content that is posed by algorithms. More the filtering, more the cost to the corporate, to the digital corporate, more the cost, and therefore less the profits. So this is clearly the tension between the interests of the private sector and the interests of women, their dignity, the way their existence is objectified. Like I was telling you, that these filters can be so deep. Of course, it will need very broad consultations. It will need trained women, experts in algorithms, who will be a part of that filtering process. And those particular AI products can be marked also, marked, like you have markings, safe for environment. So similarly, safe and pro women, pro safety of women, pro dignity of women. These parameters in terms of filters can be brought into those algorithms, and only then they come into the commercial world. So this is no rocket science. This is for all of us to understand and know. Only thing is, it has cost implications, number one. And second, if you can filter an algorithm like that, safe for consumption, not safe for consumption, it limits the market access of these digital conglomerates, which clearly they do not like. So it is this rift or this strife between the interests of the conglomerates and the interests of women in any particular global jurisdiction. And the only way this can be resorted is by institutions who have the very strong gender representation, therefore the political will to impose those kind of regulatory mechanisms that filter and completely are in a position to mark one algorithm with biases, with objectification, with any form of adverse impacts on women. That can be done through the laws and the regulations.
Thank you, Professor. I really want to be listening to you speaking like from now till God knows when, because I really enjoyed your presentation, Ma. I really appreciate you being with us on this webinar today. Thank you so much, Professor. So
thank you for inviting me, and yes, very important work you are doing, Mr. Shifa. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm very grateful, Ma. So without wasting much of our time, because I can see that we are running out of time already. So I would call on. Oh, okay. Let me just give them the opportunity to Mr. Elizabeth to ask his question before we round up this session today. Please, just be quick and fast. Mr. Eze. Okay. Oh, we cannot hear you, sir. We still can hear. Well, if you would like to type it out. Sir, we cannot hear you. I suggest you type the question out. Maybe we can, handle it before the end of the session. Thank you so much, Mr. Eze. So, without wasting much of our time, uh, I would call on Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick Moyama. He's one of the heads in Freedom's Initiative for Academic Excellence. Thank you so much for being with us today. I would like you to just give us the closing remarks. Then we end this session for today.
Thank you, Shafi, for giving me the opportunity to be part, of course, and have a contributory in appreciating our experts, whom they have ably been able to, dissect the topic of the day, which we have been looking on the influence of technology on gender dynamics, and without any doubt, uh, we have tapped a lot of wisdom, from our experts, with Professor Anita and Barrister Baruf. I hope I've pronounced his name correctly, and my apologies if at all I've gotten it wrongly. And I believe at the same time, our viewers or listeners, those who have been following us live, that they have been able to appreciate the influence in which technology has on gender dynamics. And I believe even for those who will be able to watch our, in future, because these have been recorded on our YouTube channel and also, respective social media platforms, they'll be able to appreciate, the knowledge that we have been, enlightened by our experts. So for me, it's just to appreciate very much Professor Ranita and Barrister Moruf for having taken your time to share with Africa your knowledge, your expertise in this timely topic, which indeed we can't run away from it as Africans, and therefore the knowledge that you have, given out, it will have a very long impact to our people, we as Africans, and I believe we have been able to learn most of the things on how to deal and what we the effect that we are having in terms of technology on gender dynamics, and of course also to appreciate, of course, Shafi, of course, again, for moderating this session ably, and of course also to appreciate the board of FIDAO's Initiative for Academic Excellence, starting with the president, Mr. Abdul Karim Aziz, of course, for allowing us being able, to have this session for the purposes of enlightening Africa at large. So thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. Um, with this, I want to appreciate the Professor Anita, for being with us here today. We really appreciate you for your deep and well-researched, presented lecture. Thank you so much. We also appreciate Barrister Balogun for being with us, for discussing with us too on the legal aspects. So we appreciate everyone. We appreciate our listeners too. Thank you so much. And with this, I declare the session closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Shifa. Many congratulations.
I'm grateful.